All right. It starts on chapter 5, elasticities, and he talks about necessities and luxuries. Okay. Necessities are inelastic because you need them. All right. So even if price goes up, quantity demand is going to go down a little. Where luxuries are elastic, because if the price goes up for luxury, you really don't need it. So therefore, you don't have to buy it. So necessities inelastic, luxuries elastic. And if you have a lot of close substitutes, it's going to be elastic. Because like if price goes up for Coke, I could buy Pepsi, I could buy orange soda. There's a lot of close substitutes. All right. Now, the next thing he talks about is like the definition of the market. All right. And a broad market is inelastic. Why? Because a broad market's like food. Food is inelastic. Like there's not really many substitutes for food. So it becomes an inelastic good. A narrow market, like ice cream, there's a lot of different desserts. So there's a lot of different substitutes. And the last thing, like there, he talks about, and I think I've said this in class a lot. In the short run, things are inelastic, and in the long run, they're elastic. So luxuries, elastic, necessities, inelastic, close, when you have a lot of close substitutes, elastic, broad market, inelastic like food, narrow market like ice cream, elastic, and then you have your time horizon, inelastic in the short run and elastic in the long run. He also then gives like what is the equation, and for all the equations, it's percentage change, quantity, demand on top. And for demand elasticity, it's percentage change, quantity, demand over percentage change in price. Percentage change, quantity, demand over percentage change in price. Less than one, inelastic. One, unit elastic. Greater than one, elastic. Remember, these are absolute numbers. Less than one, inelastic. One, unit elastic. And then greater than one, elastic. The next thing on the outline is the midpoint method, but you don't need to know that, okay? And he then talks about, so two you really need to know is it's perfectly inelastic, the coefficient 0. And then I'm going to draw a perfectly elastic next to it. And the coefficient is infinite. So when I look like an eye, inelastic, coefficient 0, and then perfectly horizontal, a perfectly elastic, coefficient infinite. And then he talks about total revenue test. Okay. And I think like there'll be at least one problem on this. So I would definitely, and that is if price goes up in total revenue, and remember, total revenue is price times quantity. If price goes up and total revenue goes up, inelastic. If price goes down and total revenue goes down, inelastic. So when price and total revenue are going in the same direction, inelastic. When price goes up and total revenue goes down, elastic. All right. When price goes up and total revenue goes down, it's elastic. If price goes down and total revenue up, elastic. Okay. And then I'll talk about the curve. If your demand curve, let's just check linear. I didn't draw it well. In the middle is unit elastic. Top part is elastic. I remember it E before I. And the bottom part is inelastic. If I go elastic from the top and I'm going to unit, once I cross unit, I start inelastic. And there was a couple of questions about that on the practice test. All right. Then the conversation goes to income elasticity. So income elasticity, and percent change quantity demanded on top over percent change in income. Let me see what the chat says. No, Ben, they're not. For it to be perfectly inelastic, it has to be in the eye. So no, the tops are not perfectly elastic or inelastic. Okay, so income elasticity, again, percentage change in quantity demanded on top over percentage change in income. Now, income has to be in the problem, otherwise income elasticity. So a positive is a normal good and a negative is an inferior good. Now, sometimes they say the good's inferior and they talk about price. That doesn't matter. The only time it's going to matter is if it's about income. Normal good, income up, demand up. Income down, demand down. Inferior good, income up, income up, demand down. Income down, demand up. The next, he goes to cross price. Now, cross price, you can only do complements and substitutes. Complement is a negative coefficient, a substitute is a positive. Complements a negative coefficient, substitute is positive. Here, again, quantity demanded on top, percentage change of quantity demand for good A over percentage change of price of good B. Percentage change of quantity demanded of good A over percentage change of price of good B. Okay, so we have income elasticity that can only do normal and inferior. We have cross price that only could do complements and substitutes. And we have demand, which could say elastic, inelastic, unit elastic. All right, now we go to supply. And he just talks about, and the supply thing is the same. Percentage change quantity supplied over percentage change price. By the same, I mean the same formula, quantity on top. Remember, for supply, where it says supply and its determinants, time. Time is a huge thing for supply. So in the short run, most producer things are inelastic, and then in the long run, they become more elastic. Now, the lines are the same in supply, meaning, perfectly inelastic. Here, supply curve goes elastic, unit in the middle, and then inelastic. Okay, but perfectly inelastic and the perfectly elastic look the same. All right, that's pretty much what you need to know in chapter 5. And I'm going to go over chapter 6. Then I'll take any questions you guys could have either on the chat or yes. Okay. All right. So chapter 6 starts with control on prices. So we talk about price ceiling, the legal maximum you could charge. And the ceiling must be below the equilibrium to be binding. So this ceiling is not binding. Because what's the good of selling the maximum? You could sell gas for $4 a gallon. If the equilibrium price is $3 a gallon, people are selling it for less anyhow. If it is non-binding like that, you just pretend that it's not there, and the price is 3, the equilibrium is 100, quantity supplied is 100, quantity demand is 100. Okay. A price floor is the legal minimum. And by the way, for the price ceiling, they use a lot rent control. So that's his example a lot. For the price floor, he uses minimum wage a lot. Okay. And that's the legal minimum. All right. Here is your binding ceiling. Upside down house, ceilings below. Okay. So who wants the ceiling? Lower prices for consumers. Notice you have a shortage. People want 125 ice cream cones in this, but you only have 75. So you have a shortage of 50. So you could have long lines. Maybe I'm going to give the ice cream to my friends. There's problems with it, even though it's designed to help consumers. Okay. Now, all you have to also know with this is, again, they like to ask a question, say, if the government takes the price ceiling away, what would happen? Well, price would obviously go up from 2 to 3. Quantity supply would go up because you're going up this curve to get to the equilibrium, and quantity demanded would decrease. Okay? So that is your binding price ceiling. Okay. There's your rent control. You don't really need to know that. Okay. Here is your price floor. Not binding. We're just going to use the equilibrium. Okay. 3 and 100. No surplus, no shortage. Quantity supply equals quantity demanded. Your binding price floor, upside down house. Okay. Now, again, here, how much is being sold? 80. People are demanding 80. You're supplying 120. People only want 80. All right. The floors are producers. Producers want floors. There's going to be a surplus because you're supplying 120, but people only want 80. So the surplus is 40. They use minimum wage a lot in the example. Okay. Now remember, for both floors and ceilings, there's deadweight loss. So the markets are inefficient. You don't have to know where the deadweight loss is, but you do have to know that the markets are inefficient. Okay. Now, to do a minimum wage, just know where the surplus is unemployment, right? Because say quantity supplied is 100 workers and demand is 50. That means 50 people are working, 100 people want jobs, 50 people are unemployed. We did, you don't need the demand tax, but I want, where's the supply one? Okay. All right, here is the excise tax, and we did this in class today. Okay. If I take, all right, if I take the line from the new equilibrium S2 down to the old supply curve, the length of that line is the tax. So that's 330 minus 280 is 50. Okay. The tax is 50 cents with this line. Consumer was paying $3, is now paying $3.30, so they're paying 30 cents. I said the tax is 50 cents altogether. The producer must be paying 20. Okay. This test is all you need to know. All right. Now, anyone, you could just put them in the chat. Have any questions? I'm going to first try to get chapter 5 questions up, and we can look at chapter 5 first. Is that chapter 5? Yep. Anyone have any questions? If you want to just shoot in the chat either a number on the question for chapter 5, or if you have a different question about chapter 5, let's just do chapter 5 first. That one? You guys can't see the PowerPoint? Oh, geez. Yes, I thought I was sharing it. Oh, I wish someone would have told me. It says new share. So, can you see the PowerPoint now? Okay. It's just Roy, something's wrong. All right, I'm going to try to get chapter 5 again. Do you guys see chapter 5 PowerPoint? Okay. All right. Someone asked for a question, but I lost it with all these. So could you answer which? Number 7. Okay. Let me try to scroll down. Number 7, if I remember it, I'm not surprised. Okay. So on this one, and by the way, this scenario is going to be on it tomorrow. So aged cheddar, the cheddar, I'm just going to put a C for the cheddar here, is inelastic. So I could remember. And bread is elastic. Okay. Now, the normal goods, suppose that a large income, all right, so it's a normal, has increased, a large income tax increase decreases the demand, all right? It's going to be a demand shift. Change in equilibrium, all right. Now, both these goods, quantity demanded dropped 10%. Quantity demanded it's negative 10%. Bread, it's negative 10%. For cheddar. Move both of them negative 10%, the price has to change more for the inelastic good because it's insensitive to price change. So to get them both to change by 10%, the inelastic good, the price has to change more. Now, think of the equation, quantity demanded, it would be quantity demanded on top for both. To be inelastic, you have to be less than 1. So the change in price would have to be at least 11%, yet less than 1. Be elastic, you have to be greater than 1. So the price at most change 9%. So therefore, the change in equilibrium price will be greater in the aged cheddar. Ben, does that make sense to you? Now, here's where I think you'll see more of tomorrow. What happens to the equilibrium price for cheddar and for bread? Well, for both of them, it's a leftward supply shift. So therefore, the equilibrium price for cheddar will be down and the equilibrium price for bread will be down. Now, how about if they ask you what happens to the equilibrium quantity for them? Well, it's a leftward demand shift for both, because it says there's a decrease in the demand. So a leftward demand shift for both would be quantity down and quantity down, okay? If they're just asking you which way they go, being inelastic and elastic is not going to factor in. Okay, I said a lot there. Does everyone understand that? If you have a question, ask, because this scenario, I guarantee you, is on the test tomorrow. Okay, Dave, the question isn't about supply, it's about demand. No, okay. I'll say it again. Let me actually graph it. So if I was doing the cheddar, right? Even though they say the supply is inelastic, okay, and then demand is elastic, what's going to happen? It's a decrease in the demand for both goods. The demand is just the cheddar. Demand is going to decrease. And I'm sorry, it's hard for me to write on this. Okay? So here's the first price. And then here is the new price. So price is going to go down in the cheddar, and quantity is going to go down. Okay? Price and quantity are going to go down in the cheddar. Now, that is the same exact graph you would graph for the bread. So for both of them, just know price and quantity decrease. What I'd like to ask is, the change in equilibrium price will be, and one would say, increase in the cheddar, decrease in the bread, decrease in the cheddar, increase in the bread. And the answer is going to be price is going to decrease in the cheddar and decrease in the bread. Okay? All right. Now, they might ask quantity. Same thing. Quantity is going to decrease in the cheddar and decrease in the bread. Did that help? Okay? All right. Sorry for the confusion. I need to figure out how to get it right on this. All right. Any other questions on 5? 5. Peter, what do you mean the range? you could turn on your mic, Peter, if it helps you explain what your
Yeah,
question is
like
better.
we did a problem where it was like it went from up one point on the graph to the other, and there was a difference in the quantity and there was a difference in the price, and we had to figure out whether like which point was like elastic or like I think I swear we covered this.
You mean like a total revenue one?
Yeah, I think it's just that and like comparing the total revenue.
Yeah, oh, that is, I thought there was a question like that. Let me, here's, uh, three would be, is that the type of question you mean?
Yeah, I think so. Just any like total revenue thing. I'm kind
Yeah,
of confused on.
like this, I would think this question is going to be on it. Okay, this graph. So instead of asking 50 to 40, they might ask you, you know, 30 to 20 or 40 to 30. All right. Now, remember, the top half of the graph is elastic. At 50 is unit elastic, and the bottom is inelastic. If I'm doing the 50 to 40, at 50, it's 100. So 50 times 100 is 5,000. If the price goes down to 40 and it's 200, the total revenue is 8,000, price times quantity. So price went down and total revenue went up. So I know it's elastic. And then I know total revenue increased from 5,000 to 8,000. Does that make sense, Peter? Okay. And that question definitely would be on. So, I would know how to do it. And there seemed to be a couple like this. All right. So again, just know in the middle, like at the 8 here is unit elastic, to the left is elastic, to the right is inelastic, and be able to do the total revenue like we just did in the one above. Any other questions on chapter 5 before I turn our attention to chapter 6? And by the way, scenario 8, let me just rather, I think it's question 8. Question 8, that scenario is going to be on too. Okay. This one, however, is a supply shift. But it's going to be the same supply shift for milk as it would be for beef. So like the equilibrium quantity will decrease in milk and decrease in beef, and that's why it's D. All right. Any other questions on this one? All right. I'll get chapter 6 questions up then. Okay. Anything on chapter 6 that you would like to ask? No questions on chapter 6? But man, dead weight loss is not going to be on the quiz tomorrow. So the next time we're in seminar, ask me and I'll be glad to go over it. But like, I'd rather you just focus on what would be on the quiz tomorrow, okay? All right, Andrew, number 2, rent controls laws dictate. Okay. So it's the maximum rent the landlords could charge. That's why it's a price ceiling. It's just by definition, the maximum rent landlords could charge. All right, number 6. If government removes a bond ceiling. Okay, I think the best way is to draw it. We had a binding ceiling. So it's okay. All right. The first thing is, if you remove the binding ceiling, you're going to go to equilibrium. The price is going to go up. Okay. Now I'm going to put some numbers here. Let's just put 5. Let's put that 10. And let's like make it 20. Okay. The quantity supplied is going to go up to the equilibrium. It's going to go from 5 to 10. The quantity supplied is going to increase. All right. Quantity demanded is also going to go to the equilibrium. It's going to go from 20 to 10, so it's going to decrease. So it was number 6. So if government removes a binding ceiling, the price paid by buyers will increase. Oh, quantity that would be sold would be 5 with the price ceiling, right? Even though people want 20, we're only supplying 5. Price sold will go from 5 to 10. It would be price will increase and the quantity sold in the market will increase. So that'd be A. Did that make sense, Ben? Okay. Now, I'd be aware of what I just talked through, then asking you about everything. So, price would increase, quantity supply would increase, and quantity demanded would decrease. Okay. Any other ones that you would like me to go over? Okay, let me scroll down and see. There's definitely that one with the chart that all right, this is a chart on 2 pages. Just remember the equilibrium is 3. I know that because quantity supplied equals quantity demanded. To be a price floor, the equilibrium has to be greater than 3, and to be a ceiling, it has to be below. Okay. All right. If you guys don't have any more questions, I will see you tomorrow. I'll be in my class at 7:45 tomorrow. I would also, if you haven't seen it, I would recommend the breakdown of 5 and 6. That video, I think, will be very helpful. All right. See you guys tomorrow.
Mr. Bressler,
Yes.
are you